Hello everybody and welcome to Beastcoast Pokemon. We are kicking off our Gen 9 coverage. I of course am Aaron Cybertron Zhang and I'm joined by James Baek. And today we're here to just talk a little bit about what we enjoyed about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So a brand new game, brand new generation, and yeah, I think definitely a lot of mixed opinions about the game, but we're here to just share some of our favorite things about it. So first of all, James, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. These games have been out for a couple of days. We've been playing them, and yeah, I think there are definitely a lot of mixed opinions, but we're going to be sharing ours and going over the positives today.
Absolutely. So the first thing that I had on my list is actually the music within the game. I think this is the strongest music that we've had from a Pokemon game in a really long time, personally. Like the Team Star theme, for example, I think is just absolutely incredible. Yeah, overall, I was really impressed by the music. I think it added a lot of kind of depth to the battles and to the game in general, and that one just stuck out to me in particular. So nice and simple, but I just absolutely loved it, and that theme in particular was so good. Like, I've been listening to it nonstop even after playing the game.
There were definitely some nice themes from the game, and yeah, there's a lot of great things I think about this game, which kind of threw me off. And I think the big one was the open world. And sure, there was Legends of Arceus, but I think something about this game, how big the maps are in general. Like, the areas are absolutely huge. It's actually like really easy to get lost in the area, and even the map doesn't cover it really. Like, it's huge. You could spend hours in just one area and find a lot of different Pokemon. And I think that's just something that's really appreciated, especially in common JRPGs. You can find some Pokemon, for instance, that are like vastly higher level than some of the other mons. So I think it's just really cool that the areas, I think, were super huge and thought of pretty well.
Yeah, definitely with the whole open world, scheme as well. I felt like I was like, oh, this is great. I don't have to walk through like this really long cave with a billion Zubats or whatever Pokemon just to get to the next destination. And I always really just didn't like caves in a lot of Pokemon games in general. So it was really refreshing where I was like, oh, okay, you can go wherever. I will say, to your point, James, sometimes I got completely lost and I was like, okay, I actually really don't know where I'm supposed to go next. And, technically it's kind of more open world, so there isn't like one specific destination. I think one of the criticisms maybe I had about the game is like the lack of level scaling, where it was like, yeah, it felt like you were still supposed to approach the game in a specific order, and if you went out of order you would just be like severely underleveled. I don't know if that was really an intentional choice, or I don't know like if they'll consider different level scaling in the future. But yeah, the open world stuff and just the general map was awesome, but sometimes for me it felt a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah, I actually ended up facing some things out of order from the level scaling. So for instance, I faced one of the Team Star bosses, I guess, and it was like level like high 20s, and then when I would go to fight a gym leader, they were like levels like 18 or something like that. So the level scaling was definitely something I would have appreciated, but I can imagine it's like really hard to actually implement, especially with like all the trainers and different Pokemon you can actually catch in the area. And again, you could really explore anywhere in this game, like right off the bat. It's actually incredible. Like, one of my second playthroughs, I faced a level 50 Jolteon in the wild when I was level 18, and I caught it somehow. It was like a terrestrialized Jolteon, and I somehow caught it because I had like the evolution of the new Wooper thing, so it couldn't really touch my Mon, and I was able to actually catch it somehow. So I have a level 50 at level 18.
There you go. The number 2 for me is just the Terra gyms in general. I think they were really well executed. Actually, I thought really just all the fights in general were cool. A lot of the battles were more challenging than I expected, and I think the way they incorporated Terra within the gyms in particular was awesome. It was like, oh, let's take a Pokemon that isn't a specific type and turn it into that type. I do wish the AI for the gym battles were a little bit smarter, because there were times like they pretty much always Terra immediately, so sometimes I'd be like, oh, I know you're gonna Terra, so I'm just gonna hit you for whatever Terra type you're gonna change into. But I did think that was a cool way to introduce Terra, and I was like, oh, this helps me give some sense of how it might be utilized within the game. And so yeah, I think there were some really, really cool ones that I actually struggled a lot against. And so I like it when the gyms are a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, and they would also, like, the bosses or the gym's ace Pokemon would just go for its Terra type move right away. It doesn't actually go for any other move, I'm pretty sure. It just goes for the same type attack move. And it's like, even if your Pokemon's resistant and like could have been hit by a super effective move, which I had in my playthrough case, but they just went for the Terra move, and it's like, oh wait, that's super easy. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
One of my things, I guess number 2, was I actually kind of enjoyed the story quite a bit. Like how it's broken up, how there's like 3 different sections where there's the gyms, and then there's like 2 other things. There's the Team Star and then the Titan Pokemon. I actually really enjoyed like the way they formatted it, because it kind of felt like Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon in a way, which is a game I really enjoyed, but a little bit less chaotic. And it felt like everything kind of like had a clear direction compared to like Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, where it was kind of like scattered a bit. So that's just something I really enjoyed. Like even like at the beginning, like I enjoyed most of the story for pretty much. Like I thought the Team Star at the beginning was I don't want to say cringe, but kind of. But then I kind of like, oh, I kind of grew on to them. I think the only things that I just didn't enjoy were like the gym leaders were kind of boring in my opinion, but otherwise I felt like I actually really enjoyed a lot of them.
Yeah, I think, Pokemon isn't always really a narrative or story-driven based game, but I actually thought the core storylines were more interesting. Like, I honestly could not tell you the stories from the last couple of generations, because I was like, okay, I'm just trying to speed through it, get to the point where I can start doing competitive battles, and it often felt more like a drag to get through. But with this game, like, I was like, oh, wow, these stories are actually really intriguing, and I like, the different perspectives from all of the different, groups, and so definitely agree with you on that. I think for me, the final point that I really liked is kind of just the lack of force trainer battles. I mentioned the caves earlier as well, and like the lack of those kind of dungeon-like places. I think it was nice where it's like, oh, I actually did end up doing a lot of the trainer battles just because I wanted to farm EXP. But I just think about old Pokemon games where it's like you literally have to beat 4 or 5 people to get to the next place and then go through a cave where there's all these wild Pokemon and you have to buy the repels as well. And yeah, I think like that always just made games seem a lot more grindy, like unnecessarily. And so I'm glad that this game gave you the freedom of choice as to whether or not, you wanted to approach them. And you certainly had the option, but you didn't necessarily actually have to go through those battles.
Yeah, especially with like some of the boring trainers. I think I ended up finding all the trainers that I've seen, but yeah, some of them like can be easily swept. So it was kind of nice that it's optional, especially for those who would just want to like get to the next actual important part of the story. I actually do really enjoy that. I actually, with the story, I enjoyed the rival. I thought the rival was way better than Sword and Shield. I will say that. But I think the third one I'd have to give it up to is I kind of like the ability, even though it's like pretty buggy right now, and I don't know if it's possible, like it's even going to be competitive yet, but I actually kind of like the ability to adjust the camera angle during a battle.
Yeah.
And Arceus, like, it was kind of nice. I think there's a lot of glitchiness with the camera. I will say that. Like, I have tried to move the camera because it's glitched out in like some of the spots already, but I do kind of like the ability to see it from a different perspective. I think the double battles you weren't able to, but I'd have to double check. But I think that's just really cool that you're able to like move the camera itself and get maybe even better shots for it.
Totally, yeah. I think, at the end of the day, a lot of discourse about how Scarlet and Violet went, or how, it is as an experience. And I'm somewhere in the middle where this honestly was one of the best games, I think, that I've played in the more recent generations. But I think a lot of the criticisms are fair as well. I definitely noticed a lot of the kind of technical glitchiness, and yeah, ran into a lot of kind of funny scenarios, and sometimes the game just did not run very well. And so, I'm kind of somewhere in between. But overall, I honestly had a blast, and I think the positives were really super, super positive for me. And I'm curious about your opinion on it, James.
Yeah, I'm kind of pretty much in the same boat, because I felt like overall this, if I'd say this game, I'd probably make it a top 3 if it wasn't for like all the glitches. Like, I've fallen out of the map randomly like multiple times. I had one game crash. Luckily I had saved. By the way, if you're playing through, make sure you save it like every point.
I had one crash once after like going through like 3 hours, and I was like, I don't know if I had autosave on. If I don't, I'm actually gonna just cry and like stop playing today.
No, dude, one of the gym leaders, it was like the challenge where you have to do like, was it like the dance thing?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it might have caused a glitch, but when you do the expression, you can actually do it multiple times. So I thought like the point was you have to do it as many times you can
exactly.
in the session. And then when that happened, I finished it. I'm like, cool, I'm gonna head to the gym. And then when I try to walk into the gym, the game crashes. I'm like, I don't want to do that again, because like the thing if you try to do it, it took me like 20 minutes. So I was like, dude, I am so mad at that. But like then I just did it once and find out apparently you didn't have to do that. So but yeah, there's definitely some positives about this game. I think there's a lot of things in the right direction. Some of the negatives, I think, performance-wise, there's some quality of life which I think are interesting. I was gonna mention this, but really it's kind of strange because there's like a lot of things that went in a better direction. Then I feel like there's stuff that went back a direction, like not having set mode, which might be a preference to other players. TMs, I really don't like how we're going back to single-use TMs for everything, making it grindy. Being able to get a lot of competitive items for pretty cheap with the money, I think is pretty good. But yeah, those are just a few, I think.
That makes a ton of sense. I think ultimately here, with every new Pokemon generation, there are a lot of great things. There may be some things that are not so great, but overall, I actually thoroughly very much enjoyed Scarlet and Violet even before the competitive experience. And so, yeah, thank you for joining James and I on this video. Let us know what you guys enjoyed about the game, maybe what you would like to see improved in either future patches, DLCs, or really future generations as well. And yeah, thanks so much for watching.